So when you're an athlete that pushes your body to its limits, there is going to be, no matter how genetically resilient you are, how genetically gifted you are, there's going to be some level of injury or pain. Injury is the line you don't cross, because when it becomes an injury, then you're out for a few months and you're going to get worse as an athlete, and you're going to need to get back in the weight room and rebuild that after, technically, you do start on the weight room to actually get back to where you were, but it's going to be more of a lengthy process, and you're going to kind of lose that athleticism for a bit until you train it back. But my point is that no matter what, if you're an athlete that actually pushes yourself and pushes your body to its limits, you're going to feel some type of injury or pain. Like me, for example, I've been training hard for the past 3 months on THP. It's the hardest I've ever trained, and I felt all the aches and pains. I felt it in my hip, knee, ankle, this ankle, and my shoulder, my back. I felt all different types of things. For example, I had a hip impingement, so when I would squat deep, the deepest I possibly can, at the bottom I would feel a hip impingement, and that was kind of related to a type of knee pain I had too. But the way I was able to manage that load is to actually stop doing what hurt. And it's a very simple thing to kind of understand, but to actually apply it and understand that, okay, my body feels this way, I shouldn't do this. Or just knowing your body, because it's not something that anybody can really teach you. You're the only one that can kind of gauge, okay, is this safe for me? Is this going to make me feel better tomorrow? Is it going to make me feel worse tomorrow? And that's exactly what I did. So whenever you would feel some type of pain in some kind of exercise, you would stop. Either that, or you would lower intensity, or you would lower the amount of range of motion, or you just do a completely different exercise, or you do something to substitute, because you always got to train. So if there's something you cannot do, you got to be able to substitute it, or still be able to do it in some kind of way, because you always got to train. If you want to be an athlete, you always got to be training. Of course, throughout your athletic career, there's going to be more ups and downs on when you should be training more in the weight room in your sport, and when you should be doing your sport more than the weight room, depending on whatever your sport is. But that goes for literally anybody. So then you might be asking, how do I know when I'm pushing myself too hard? So a simple pain scale is going from a 1 to 3 out of 10. The 1 to 3 range is a very safe range. When you're at a 1, you're basically at no pain. A 2, you're barely noticeable pain. 3 is when it's hurts as much as it can without it affecting your performance. So then, once it gets to that, that's when you're nearing that 4. So then once you near that 3, that is when you know, okay, let me calm down here, let me do something different here, and then go back down to that 2, because that 2 is a very safe range, because it's barely noticeable pain, so you're still going to be improving as an athlete. But then once you're at a 4 and above, that point you're kind of breaking down over time very slowly whatever hurts, whether it's like a tendon, or maybe your meniscus, your hip socket joint, your whatever it is, any type of ligament or whatever it is. So that's how you know when it's a 4 and above, and it's affecting your performance. It's affecting how much intent you can use. If it's affecting that you to the point where you cannot go maximum intent, if it's affecting you to that point, that's when you got to substitute it for something different, or change something about it, whether it's changing range of motion or the weight. And so why should you do this? Because you won't improve if you keep doing what hurts. Because like I said earlier, when you keep doing what hurts, depending on what hurts, let's say it's your patellar tendon, if you keep putting pressure on it, if you keep jumping over and over again, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And then since it's already affecting you, the more it hurts, more it's going to affect you, to the point where you can't go max intent. Because it's not about like your mental, whatever, how mentally strong you are, unless if you're fucking David Goggins, who trains for that shit. Your body is going to act like somewhat of a defense mechanism, because what you're doing is not trying to push yourself to pain and just hurt yourself, because your goal as an athlete is to stay healthy and stay as athletic as you possibly can. When it comes to that sort of category of athleticism, when it comes to your sport, that's a whole different thing. But when it comes to having a good athletic and resilient body, that's where the weight room then comes in to then upgrade your performance in your sport or whatever you do. And so then if you're worried about losing any kind of vertical jump gains, or any kind of athletic gains that you've gotten, like whether it's like sprinting or something, if you're worried about losing that, imagine this: you stay off for 2 to 4 weeks because your patellar tendon hurts because you've been jumping too much. You stay off for 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even a month or two if necessary, depending on how bad it is. And then you rehab. Basically, you don't rehab, that's when you have a really bad injury, but you would go into managing your load to the point where you do the right exercises to repair that patellar tendon back up. And then you take those 2 to 4 weeks to do that, or a month or two to do that, and then you're back at your sport playing 100%. Imagine either doing that, or the alternative, you keep doing what hurts, you do it over and over again, and then you get injured, and then you're out for a few months. Then you're back to a whole rehab process. That's gonna decrease your performance slowly over time, and then you're gonna have to make those gains back, which would take an even longer stretch of time when you would have rather just fixed what's going on right now and then got back to playing your sport with maximum intent without worrying about getting injured. That is pretty much how LeBron James is so kind of resilient and hasn't got many injuries, because he knows how to kind of control himself in the game, when to go athletic beast mode or when to kind of just pass the ball or make the right plays, things like that. So you got to think of it as a scale. It's going to be, I'll go right here, it's going to be up here. The scale's going to start up here. This is when you are not doing anything that hurts and you are injured, right? Or you have some kind of pain. And then the more you do what hurts, it's going to hurt more and more and more and more and more. And boom, that's the point of injury right there. So that is one thing that's really going to help you out in being more resilient and getting less injured, is literally to not do what is injured. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings. We have these mortal bodies that we could easily be killed, and we are not resilient. We are not invincible. We are not invincible. We are not, like, we can be resilient creatures, we can be very strong, but you are not strong enough to the point where you can just kind of do whatever and not get hurt. And that is more so a lesson of discipline. If you do get injured, or if your pain keeps going up, it's a lesson of discipline. You got to be able to discipline yourself to then do what is gonna give you the most benefit in the future, rather than doing what's kind of better now, in a sense. So, and you may think that something matters at this moment, but it really doesn't matter as much as you think. So I hope you found this video valuable. If you did like the video, if you want to see my journey to dunking on 10 feet, or you want to see more tips just like this on how to jump higher for dunking and or your sport, subscribe to the channel. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.